Today, it's March 24th of Start Now 2020, and this is another edition of the Thriving Artist Art Life Short. And let me tell you about my granddaughter's Instagram, all right? Because she is my co-host, and her name is, what's your name? Rainbow. Her name is Rainbow. And her Instagram is Rain Daniela, I think. Rain dot Daniela with the two L's, Daniela. That's it. That's your Instagram on. So check her out. Today is March 24th of Start Now 2020, as I said, and I want to talk about getting deposits. What is it that artists need to do to step up their entrepreneurial art life game and skills and practices, the strategies when dealing with clients? And number one is deposit. And I need to say this before I forget. Always be charging. Yes, and that's gonna be another day. In any case, getting a deposit is very important because that establishes the relationship between illustrator, designer, creative, and a client. Without that deposit, there is no business. Without actual money exchange, there's no business. The promise of a project, the promise of if we like what you're doing, if we like what you're producing, what you show us, then maybe we'll pay you. Or once we sell this item that you created or this artwork with merchandise that you created, then we'll talk about paying you. Those are just conversations that don't mean anything. And they do not, it doesn't have, there's no value for the client because they're not investing anything. All the value is in the creative and creating something and producing something to see if and when that may be a transaction or there may be a sale. So by making sure that we get a deposit up front, establishes the fact that this is a business relationship, establishes that you are producing something in exchange for money. It also establishes that this is just one payment out of two, right? So if it's a 50% deposit, then that means there's another 50% due. It's an outstanding balance, and that balance will get paid once the illustration or creative work is done. But having an understanding, a discussion, and an exchange of money and you as a deposit before the work begin establishes the financial responsibility, establishes the paid project, establishes the relationship as a client and a provider of some artwork or creative good. If there's no money, then there's no client. If you are doing work and not getting paid, they're not a client. It may be some kind of relationship. It may have to do with a nonprofit. It may have to do with a charity. It may have to do with a pro bono type of something. I don't even know what pro bono, why is pro bono. It could be for good. It sounds Italian. It sounds Latin. In any case, the fact is that without money, there is no real transaction. So you have to start thinking about ways to start talking about money, how to talk about getting that deposit, and getting ready to have a real client invest in your work. All right, so here are some of my techniques and strategies when discussing money. A client will tell you what they want. They'll tell you what they're interested in. And then they'll, and within the first 5 minutes, I already know where this is going. There's only so many kinds of projects, all right? And I've been 20 years in, so I've heard just about every endeavor that's out there. I've heard about it, I've seen it, I participated in a few of those, and so there's nothing new or surprising about what I hear anymore. But in those first 5 minutes of someone saying something to me, I understand exactly where they're going with it. Oh, this is a brand, we need some t-shirts, some merchandise. Okay, cool, you need a vector illustration. I get it, you need a vector artwork of some kind that you're gonna use to market and this brand and sell merchandise. I got it. So then what happens is, as soon as I hear the very basics of what this project is about, I'll know exactly what I'm supposed to provide. And then I start asking questions. So when do you need it? Do you have examples of the artwork that you're gonna that you want? samples of that artwork within my portfolio, so that I'm not out there trying to create artwork like some other artists out there when they could have just contacted that artist. They need to show me pieces in my portfolio that they like, say, oh, this is exactly like this, that's how we want it, and can you do something else, something like that for us? So I start thinking of the questions that I'm going to ask, and I start making calculations in my mind. How long would it take? What's the amount of work that goes into this? And what kind of relationship do I have with this person? What do I think the price point is going to be for them? Because if Walt Disney comes over to me, somebody from the company, said, Dan, we need some brand new property, we want you to work on it, we like your art style. Well, the price that I'm going to charge them is going to be a lot different than the price that I charge somebody else. Corporations, small businesses, medium-sized businesses, those are all going to have different price points, but I'm going to have a starting point for any of it. There's a starting point. So as soon as I hear a little bit about it and they start telling me things, the words out of my mouth are, when do you need it? Do you have examples of that artwork in my portfolio that you can point to? And that sounds like a project that's going to cost $2,500. I will need 50% deposit to get started. Once I get the deposit, then we're going to go through a whole series of questions and research and image gathering to make sure that we can narrow down exactly the artwork that you're going to need and which format do you need it. Who's going to print it? Where are you going to print it at? All those things we'll talk about as soon as I get the deposit. As soon as they hear the price, if their face changes to what, and they start trying to get away from you, then that's not your client. The kind of clients I like are the ones that say, okay, Dan, that sounds good. I can get you a check today. I can get you a check this week. Well, it's going to take me a minute to get that check, but I can have it for you. And that's how you get started talking about money and asking for that deposit so that you can have an actual transaction that's going to be fruitful for you as a creative. Tell him. Tell him. All right. This is Delta Tango Mike. Find rain.daniela on Instagram. Check me out, Delta Tango Mike, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and The Creative Genius on Behance and LinkedIn. This is a Thriving Artist Art Life short. We do not give any credence to the starving artist. I don't care what the situation is in the world. Artists of all levels and business need to get paid for their work. Talk to y'all later. Peace. Salam. Bye-bye.